salam alaikum. You can take all these, sister, gotta go count the money because we're gonna give a total to the people that are here. So let me pass this over. Salam alaikum. I didn't get my introduction because I really don't need one and I don't want one. And I want to ask all of you in this room today to give me some grace. I am not the Linda Sarsour that you met at CAIR-Chicago back in 2016 when I came here to speak. Everything that I say today is not on behalf of CAIR-Chicago. So if you get upset with me, if I offend you in any way, I am responsible for my words. Please don't blame the people at CAIR-Chicago. Because Linda Sarsour has some things to say today, and I've been saying this all over the country, and I'm going to say it today here to our Chicago community. Sisters and brothers, my Palestinian mother does not say there has been a year of genocide. She says we are in the second year of genocide. Everyone here today spoke a lot about the accomplishments of CAIR-Chicago, and every single one of those words was true. But you know what did not happen? We did not end a genocide against the Palestinian people. And that is the fact of the matter that we all have to sit with in our communities. Sisters and brothers, they tell you 42,000. Some say 50,000. Some people say 100,000. Some say 200,000. We will not know the number of Palestinians who have been slaughtered at the hands of the apartheid regime funded by the United States government until this genocide is over. And I want everyone in this room to understand this. Every child, every woman, every man, every elder, every disabled person in Gaza has been slaughtered with your complicity. So don't put your hands up and say, this is the state of Israel that's doing that. It is funded by the United States government and they are complicit in genocide. No, you are complicit in genocide too. Linda Sarsour is complicit in genocide. Sisters and brothers, we are going to be asked on the day of judgment, what did we do with the blessings that Allah gave us to alleviate the harm and suffering of our people? And I hope that you all have an answer to that. Every day when I wake up in the morning, the first thought that I have is, alhamdulillah, that Allah chose for me to wake up today. And I am grateful to be alive. And then the second thought that I have is in complete outrage. I am outraged every single day at the United States government, at the apartheid regime, and yes, at our Muslim American communities all across this country. Sisters and brothers, for how long will you say AIPAC has lobbyists and AIPAC bought the government and AIPAC is doing and AIPAC is doing? When will you stop worrying about what AIPAC is doing and you start doing the work that you should be doing? You think AIPAC and the Zionists have more money than us? Do you think that they're more educated than us? Do the Zionists love Israel more than we love Palestine? Do they value the lives of their children and their families more than we value the lives of Palestinians and their families? I am tired of us always blaming everybody else and not having self-critique of our own community, sisters and brothers. At some point, sisters and brothers, we must self-reflect. We must ask ourselves what is in our power to do that we are not doing. The Palestinian people, and I have every right to speak on behalf of Palestinians because I am a Palestinian. The Palestinian people are a prideful people. Our Palestinian people will make soup out of grass to feed their children. They don't want your flour. They don't want your guilty charity money. They want you to stop being complicit in the bombs that get dropped on their children. What's the point, sisters and brothers? What's the point of raising $1 million for charity so that same family that you just gave a food package to is bombed and killed tomorrow? Enough is enough. Sisters and brothers, explain this to me. The Palestinian people have been under occupation for the last 76 years. Gaza has been under siege for 20 years. Why does it take dead bodies on the streets of Gaza for our community to stand up? Why does your blood boil only when blood is spilled in the streets of Gaza? Where were we in 2022 and 2019 and 1999 and 1997? This has been going on, sisters and brothers. And the only time that our community stands up is when you see babies blown up, when you see arms and legs in bags and people praying over bodies that are not even complete. Sisters and brothers, I'm tired. Wallahi, I'm exhausted. Wallahi, I have eye drops in my room in my hotel because I suffer from dry eyes from how much I have cried from the beginning of this genocide. Not just crying over the Palestinian people, but crying over the state of the Muslim American community in this country that has not been able to build the political power and influence, even though we've been in this country since the days of its founding. At some point, sisters and brothers, we gotta tell ourselves the truth. MashaAllah, we have people, Harvard grads, Yale University. Sister Linda, mashallah, my 3 sons are dentists. My other son's a doctor. Sister Linda, come meet these young people here. Look what they did. Sisters and brothers, what's the point of us coming to this country or our parents coming to this country and us building and getting education and getting access to all the things that our people didn't have and not looking back to build the type of power that our people expected us to build when we came to this country? Let me tell you a little bit about me, and I'm gonna say this here. My parents, my Palestinian immigrant parents, chose to immigrate to this country. My father and mother left their parents, their grandparents, their siblings, their friends, everything that they loved in Palestine so that they could come to this country. They sacrificed everything that they loved so that me and my siblings can be born here in the United States of America. So you better believe that I'm gonna make my parents' journey worth it to this country. I will not be silenced, I will not be intimidated, and I will not allow opposition that supports genocide of the Palestinian people to define who I am. They can say what they want, sisters and brothers. I'm not afraid. And you know who else is not afraid? Your children are not afraid. Because our children got up on college campuses all across this country, and they were willing to lose the scholarships, lose the job opportunities to stand up against genocide. I had parents across this country call me and say, Sister Linda, please call my child. He is the president of MSA of so-and-so university. Sister Linda, please call my daughter. She's protesting. She's part of the encampment. And I said, oh, you want me to call your kids? You know what they wanted me to call their kids to do? They wanted me to tell their kids to calm down, to be strategic. They didn't want their children to lose opportunities. They didn't send their kids to Harvard so that they could do encampments and stand up against their administrations. I said, don't worry, I'm gonna call them. And I called all the kids whose parents called me. I said, keep doing what you're doing. I said, don't be afraid. You know why? Because we're so good at Muslims preaching Islam to everybody else, but we ourselves don't actually understand the depth of our faith. Sisters and brothers, what is meant for you is meant for you. Rizq is from Allah. It's not because you worked hard. That's not the only reason. If Allah took a scholarship from you, there was a reason why Allah took that scholarship from you, and Allah is going to give you a better scholarship and better opportunities. Sisters and brothers, for 15 years, the Zionists have tried to take everything that I have. They went after my livelihood. They went to my publisher and tried to get my book contract canceled. What the Zionists didn't know is that they're not in control. God is in control. And that's why I'm still here today. Sometimes I don't believe if the Muslims really believe that Allah is in control. Because one of the beautiful things about Islam is our faith is a practical one. Our faith is not about just sitting around and hoping all is going to be well. Allah gave you arms, Allah gave you legs, Allah gave you sight, Allah gave you blessings, Allah gave you wealth, Allah gave you education, Allah gave you knowledge, and He's testing you. If you think that the genocide happening to the Palestinian people is a test for the Palestinian people, you got it all wrong, my friends. That test is not for them. Because you know what? They're all martyrs. They're all going one straight ticket to heaven. You, my friends, don't have a one-way ticket to heaven. They do. So why are you crying over the Palestinian people? Cry over yourself. Think to yourself, are you passing the test that Allah has put before you? Allah said, here are your people. They are suffering. And you know what your people do when they suffer? They still say, Alhamdulillah. They still say, Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakeel. Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakeel. Allah is the most sufficient even after everything was taken from them, including the things they love the most, their children. Sisters and brothers, at some point, I sit and I make dua for you. And I don't mean Chicago Muslims, I mean all the Muslims. Look at our Muslim dictatorships all over the world. They're right there, right there. The wealthiest countries in the world that have turned their backs on the people of Gaza. May Allah protect us from ever being one of those Muslim regimes. Because they may be sitting pretty now, but I want to watch on the day of judgment. Sisters and brothers, what's good of having any wealth or having any blessings if you don't use them to alleviate the harm against Allah's creation? When we right now in Congress have maybe, there's how many members of Congress? There's 435 in the House and 100 in the Senate. Imagine you only have maybe 12 pro-Palestinian members of Congress. And I'm actually a little bit exaggerating because they're not all Rashida and they're not all Delia Ramirez. And the Zionists were so outraged that in this election, they took out two of our friends, Jamal Bowman and Cori Bush. And they almost got Summer Lee from Pittsburgh, and alhamdulillah, Allah saved her on that day. Sisters and brothers, we have Muslims in Dallas. They keep telling me, MashaAllah, Sister Linda, Dallas. All the celebrity imams are in Dallas. MashaAllah. Masajid with 5,000, 7,000 congregants. Do you know that sometimes people win an election by 1,500 votes? One masjid in Chicago can win an election here. You could be a swing vote just in one masjid in Chicago. I'm outraged. I'm disappointed. I feel ashamed. I am ashamed of our Palestinian sisters and brothers. Wallahi, I'm ashamed. I'm ashamed. Sometimes my friends in Gaza will send me messages, say, Sister Linda, may Allah bless you for your work. I don't even know how to respond because I want to say to them, what have I done for you? I haven't stopped one bomb from dropping on you, sisters and brothers. What do you mean, thank you for the work? I am ashamed of myself first and foremost. Sisters and brothers, CAIR has a goal tonight of $650,000, and we're going to find out very shortly how much that was. This is not just another fundraiser that you went to. This is a political organization that is building power and influence in the Muslim American community, and we need them. This is not whether you like CAIR-Chicago or, mashallah, Sister Linda, they're a good organization, they do good work. I don't want to know that because I already know. You've seen their work. You see what they're doing. You know our opposition. They are invested on every level of the sector in their community. Sisters and brothers, why should our children be sitting on college campuses afraid to speak up for the Palestinian people? CAIR-Chicago in the state of Illinois by themselves should have at least 10 full-time attorneys, because I'm sure your ADL chapter has that here. This is not a competition. This is what is our community willing to invest in today so that generations from now we can look back and say, we did what we had to do. I'm specifically frustrated and disappointed in the people in my generation. if we want to be really honest about it. Let me put my rage in a more specific place. Because the people who are my father's age, they built you Islamic schools. They built the masajid. They were spending their resources and time building the infrastructure of our Muslim American community. So if our fathers and grandfathers built the schools and built the masajid, then what are we doing? What are you doing? And I'm talking about the people between ages 35 to 49. That was a very dormant generation. Money, 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 work, money, money, money. Like my father says, when you go underground, your money's not going with you. So it's better for you to spend in the cause of Allah and also in the cause of our community. Because people before you already built the brick and mortar. But you have the responsibility of building next generations of Muslim Americans in this country. And if we are going to keep living a cycle of sisters getting discriminated against because they wear hijab, or because we are not allowed as nurses or teachers to say free Palestine, then what's the point of what we're doing here? What's the point of that? I'm going to say this because nobody mentioned it here today, and I'm just going to put it all on the table. And like I told Ahmed Ihab, feel free to never invite me back to CAIR-Chicago ever again. There's another problem we have in our community. We do not respect expertise. I'm not a doctor. And if there's a doctor standing up here giving us medical advice, I shut my mouth, I listen, and I take the expertise of that doctor. Subhanallah, every 4 years, without fail, everybody becomes a political strategist in the Muslim American community. MashaAllah, everybody has an analysis all of a sudden. Everybody's saying we gotta do this. That guy down the street is saying we gotta do that. The lady down the street is saying we gotta do that. If you are not a political strategist, it is not up to you to tell our Muslim community what to do in an election. If I didn't see you in 2023 and 2022 and 2021 and 2020 and 2019, you don't get to dictate what our community does in any election. At some point, respect expertise. We have civil rights attorneys. We have political analysts in our community. We have people who have studied foreign policy in our community. Respect the expertise of our community members and our leaders. All of a sudden, everybody's a leader. This is a nonpartisan organization. CAIR-Chicago does not endorse candidates. But I'm going to have a partisan conversation. When you have Muslims in our community who are standing at a rally for Donald Trump, those people need to be chastised in our community. Nobody wearing a kufi or wearing a traditional Muslim outfit and calling themselves an imam should be standing with a convicted felon who is accused of sexual assault and rape. That is not our Islam, and you do not represent our communities. At some point, sisters and brothers, we gotta hold people in our community accountable. Now listen, when you go to the polling booth and you go in the polling booth, guess what happens? It's confidential. You could vote for whoever you want, my friends. Nobody gets to tell you who to vote for, because that is the beauty of a democracy. But when you stand on stage and you say, we the Muslims endorse any candidate, I'm just putting it clear on this table, you do not represent me, and I am not the kind of Muslim that you are. Sisters and brothers, at some point, we have a role and a responsibility. And the most important thing to me is representing the integrity and dignity of our community and the integrity and dignity of the Palestinian people. Do you remember at the DNC? They didn't let our Palestinian speaker speak. And just so we're clear, who we were advocating for to be on that stage, it was Abdel Nasser Rashid from the great state of Illinois. So let's get that story straight. when we were making the calls to tell the DNC you need to put a Palestinian on the stage, I know you read another story, and yes, that young sister from Georgia was on the list, but the #1 choice to be a speaker at the DNC was Abdel Nasser Rashid from Illinois and from your community. So then the DNC said no, as you all know. And then some well-intentioned people in our community, they did a sit-in. Did you see that? I picked up the phone and I said, get up. Get up. No is no. The Palestinian people don't beg for platforms. We don't beg the DNC for respect. We made a reasonable request, it was denied, and we move on and continue to do the work that we do. So whatever you're doing in this election, do what you want to do. But please don't say what you think you're doing is good for the Palestinian people. Don't speak on behalf of the Palestinian people. I want to remind you something about Donald Trump, because people don't want to have this conversation. Donald Trump gave Israel sovereignty over the Golan Heights. Do you remember that, or do we have amnesia in our community? Donald Trump declared Jerusalem the capital of Israel, or do you have amnesia? Do you remember when they were having the celebration for moving the embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, what was also happening? The Great Return March, where they were sniping journalists and nurses on national television for you to watch. Or did you forget about that? Did you forget about that? Or are we overconsumed with our own emotions? Are we so self-righteous that we are not in fact centering the Palestinian people? We know there's a genocide. We know that Democrats and Republicans are both outrageous on Palestine. Is that news to everybody? Is this new information? You think it matters if there's Republicans or Democrats in the White House? They have given Israel non-carte blanche for decades. Now all of a sudden you have an analysis that if one party was there or another party was there, it wouldn't happen. What is wrong with our community? What is wrong with our people? When people say, Sister Linda, Donald Trump in the White House, that's hypothetical. Why is that hypothetical? When did it ever matter if Republicans or Democrats are in the White House? The Palestinian people are still going to be fighting for their freedom regardless of who goes to the White House. So don't speak on behalf of the Palestinian people. Sisters and brothers, in the last year, 13 months, all of a sudden everybody wants to do politics. There are a lot of new political organizations that have emerged. Some of them are wonderful and necessary. Like here in Chicago, you have a new group called the Justice Coalition. And there are other groups, and I'm not going to mention any names, who are not necessary. Because the people that know what they're doing already opened organizations. You can't just open an organization because you're mad. You can't just open an organization because you want to be the president of it. You have to have the expertise to open that organization. I opened an organization that does political organizing and civic engagement. I didn't open an organizing to do something that I know nothing about. So at some point in our community, we have to really sit with ourselves and say, you know what, Sister Linda was very harsh on us. I absolutely was offended by some of the things that she said, but she made a couple of good points. And I'm gonna go back into my community and into my family, and I'm gonna ask myself those questions that Sister Linda asked. You live in the state of Illinois. Stop debating about who you're voting for president, because it actually doesn't matter in Illinois. So I don't know why you're losing friends and doing all this Facebook back and forth. You think I don't watch on Facebook? I get up at 3 o'clock in the morning to check the threads. And I say, Habibti, this is sin fitich, this is not even necessary. Like, you already probably have family drama without adding this to the drama. But for example, you have a sister named Nabila Sayed who flipped the district here in Illinois, who needs your support. So you're too busy talking to me about the presidential that doesn't matter in your state, because your state is a blue state regardless of what you do, but you're not focusing on the down ballot races where people need you the most. Abdel Nasser Rashid needs you. Nabila needs you. Delia needs you. This is my point. In New York, I went on a thread and I said, everybody stop it. Enough is, I let them fight a little bit just to get it out. And I let them do it for a couple of days. And then I went in there and I said, stop it. Alhamdulillah, they got better because I'm from New York, so I have a little more influence there. Because it's not worth it. You know what's not worth it? Kamala Harris is not worth us being fractured as a community. Donald Trump is not worth us being fractured as a community. Jill Stein is not worth us getting fractured out as a community. Let me tell you something. Whoever goes to the White House, we're still gonna fight as Muslims in this country. Whoever loses, they're gonna be perfectly fine. Kamala Harris is rich. She's gonna be doing wonderful if she loses. Donald Trump, I'm not sure, he might be exaggerating that he's a billionaire, but he's definitely a multi-millionaire at least. He's gonna be perfectly fine if he loses this election. Even Dr. Jill Stein, mashallah, she's gonna be perfectly fine if she loses this election. So stop putting our energy in fracturing our community over people that are gonna be fine regardless if they win or not, and you still gotta fight regardless of who goes to the White House. The question to our community is not about November 5th. My question to you is about November 6th and November 7th and December. And who are you gonna be outside regardless of who goes to the White House? Because Sister Linda is gonna be outside because that's where I am, outside. I don't debate on the internet. If anybody here, you could attest, and you probably said mean things to me on the internet too, I don't respond to you. I don't respond. Because I don't have time for back and forths on the internet because I'm outside in the community. I'm knocking doors. I'm talking to families in our community. We're building power. We're training young people in our community. We are on the college campuses. So get off the internet and get into the community. If you got the energy for the internet, then you got the energy to go to Nabila Sayed's district and knock some doors for Nabila. Or go knock some doors for Abdel Nasser. Or call Delia and say, hey, Delia, what do you need? And there are at least 6 members of the Chicago City Council who have been staunch supporters of you. Did you ever call them and say, hey, is there anything that I could do in your district? Do you need us? What can I do for you since you are doing for us? I was very proud to see the Chicago City Council, not everybody, but most of the members stand up for our community and pass a ceasefire resolution. And I was very proud of your mayor who came in as the deciding vote on that ceasefire resolution and to recognize the power and influence of our Chicago Muslim American community. And so I'm gonna leave you with this, sisters and brothers. Anyone in this room that tells you, Sister Linda, I know you're talking about politics, but I'm not political. I don't like politics. I don't do politics. Sisters and brothers, if you woke up today and you are Muslim or you are Arab or you are Palestinian and you are breathing, you're political, whether you like it or not, because you live in a country that has politicized the identities that you hold and the countries of origin that you are from. So you got no choice but to be political in this country. Because when you are not political, someone else is making decisions on your behalf. There are people who sit in Congress and make decisions about how many bombs drop on the Palestinian people. Subhanallah, they don't have money for schools in Chicago. They can't help revive the west side of Baltimore or the south side of Chicago, but subhanallah, there's a beautiful magic pot that they have with billions of dollars for the Ukraine and Israel. Subhanallah, it magically appears. If Israel says 5 million, 10 billion, 100 billion, they'll find $100 billion. At some point, our community is gonna have to say enough is enough, and this is what we're gonna do, and here's the solution. Because I'm not the person that's just gonna come out and tell you what's wrong, I'm gonna tell you how to make it right. And I was telling this, I've said this to dear brother Bassem, who's here from CAIR-Action, and my colleague, and many others here today. I'm tired, and I'm giving our community one last chance, because I will go get a regular job. I really can. Alhamdulillah, I'm multilingual, I have degrees too. I'm tired. Because we've been doing this, I've been doing this for 23 years, and I have not seen the type of progress that our young people deserve. And at some point, we're gonna have to have a long-term plan. I'm asking you this, sisters and brothers, are you ready to work for the next 10 years? Like all in, like we gotta focus for the next 10 years. Not every 4 years we wake up for a presidential election, but 10 years of building and organizing and building the true influence that our community deserves and we should already have. Because that's what I'm only in for 10 years. I might leave in 2 if I don't see the work happen. Because me, Basim, Ahmed Rihab, the wonderful people at AMP, we're not enough. And you cannot put this responsibility on the organizers and the activists by ourselves. We're tired. Yesterday, I posted stories on my on my Instagram stories. Me and my mother and my son were walking from the pharmacy. I was home only for 1 day. And before that, I hadn't been home in 13 days. Every day, 13 days. I just went home for 1 day yesterday, and I'm here in Chicago today. I'm tired. But I believe in Ahmed Rihab. I believe in CAIR-Chicago. And you know what? You've already done, in this state alone, you've made a lot of history. And we need you on the course. And I always tell people I know the strength of a community by the power and influence of their CAIR chapter. This is all you got. This is what you got. Name another organization whose entire mission is to defend the civil liberties of the Muslim American community. This is what you got. So when you get discriminated against, when you get stopped at the airport, trust me when I tell you you're calling CAIR. So why not pay it forward? Why do we have to wait till we feel the pain of others before we support an organization? So we got to make this happen. Before I get off the stage, can somebody tell me where we're at right now? Anybody got a tally here? Okay, so what's the gap we got? We're almost there, and you all are gonna help us get there, inshallah. Ahmed Rihab is a man with a plan, but we're down $55,000. And I feel very confident that Ahmed's gonna make that happen. And inshallah, it's gonna be more than $55,000 that you're gonna get, because in fact, you deserve a lot more. CAIR-Chicago deserves more than $55,000 more tonight. So we have a plan, 10 years of investment. And I want to challenge you that as you're giving charity, because Chicago is one of the most generous communities in this country. I've been to fundraisers here where you've raised $1 million in 15 minutes for Syria. I was there, I saw it with my own eyes. You have raised money for Palestine. You have raised money for natural disasters. I've seen you do it. I know you're capable of it. But here's my challenge to you. Every year, if your family gives $20,000 for charity, can you say, you know what? I want to give $15,000 to charity, and I want to give $5,000 to a political organization doing political work, groups like CAIR, groups like Justice Coalition. Because that's what we need. The charity organizations, mashallah, Islamic Relief, mashallah. These people have a lot of resources. And alhamdulillah, they do great work. Beit al-Mal, all the organizations, they're doing good work, and you should still continue to give them money. But don't let our political organizations struggle, because guess what? It shows that our political organizations are struggling by the ways in which we have not been able to influence politics in this country. So I hope that you forgive me tonight for anything that I said that may have offended anyone in this room. But wallahi, sisters and brothers, if I don't say the things in my heart, wallahi, I'll have a heart attack. Like, I've gotten to the point where I felt physical pain in my heart, watching on a daily basis, every single day, our children being blown up to smithereens. Every single day, the hospitals. There's not a single university standing in Gaza right now. The people of North Gaza are under siege. No food, no water, no electricity, no internet, nothing. They are being slaughtered in the dark while we have the privilege of being in this room here together. And so what I'm committed to you, I'm making my commitment, and I'm asking you for yours. Don't leave us, sisters and brothers. We have a 10-year plan. We're gonna fulfill that plan. We're gonna transform Congress, and we will start sending political message across this country that you will not silence us. No corporation is gonna get away with firing our people for standing up what they believe in. That freedom of speech applies to our community too, and our opposition can do and say what they want, because we, sisters and brothers, at the end are gonna be the victorious ones. And Brother Shahir is telling me something. What are you telling me? Yep, that's where Ahmed Rehab.
I raised $1 million in California. I raised $1 million in Atlanta. We need 55,000 to finish the gap.
So Brother Shahir is talking about something that I also did, because I was with him in Georgia. What he's saying is, in CAIR, Georgia, not CAIR, Illinois, and not CAIR-Chicago, CAIR, Georgia chapter in the South, both Brother Shahir and I were there. We raised over $1 million with half the size of this room. You were there and you saw it. CAIR San Francisco Bay Area chapter, I was there in Santa Clara. We raised $1,170,000. We only need 55,000. And it's done. So before I get off, maybe somebody got inspired here tonight. And even in the big amounts that we ask for, like $10,000 is $800 a month. Who here has $10,000 to get us a little closer to our $650,000 goal? $800 a month, $200 a week. Dr. Kudaimi just raised his hand again, but this brother already gave $20,000. May Allah bless him, and Allah, wallahi, is gonna give you all your resources back in ways that you do not imagine. Let me tell this really quick story, Shahir. Let me get that before.
$500. Let's go with 500 and get to the target we need.
Let me just say this about charity and giving donations to organizations. I'm going to tell you a very quick story, and then I'm going to do exactly what you said. 2018, my father was diagnosed with cancer. My father is the father of 5 daughters, and later on he had 2 sons. He didn't want the 2 sons, but my mom insisted, and my grandmother insisted that my mother had to bear sons. But he was perfectly fine with the first 3 daughters. Alhamdulillah, my father, for those of you who know my father, he is the life of every party. He is a very jolly man who is very beloved. And I am the firstborn to my father, and for the first 11 years, my father was known in New York City, Abu Linda. And even when he bore a son named Dia, people still called him Abu Linda, because my father doesn't play that. He was diagnosed with cancer in 2018. We were devastated. Had to have a surgery. They called our family. They said, does he have children that live outside of New York? We said, yes, he has a daughter in Florida, a daughter in North Carolina, and a daughter in Louisiana. They said, well, you should call them all and you should tell them to come, because we don't know how the surgery is gonna go. Your father is an older man and this is a very complicated surgery, so the family should be there. So my family came, my uncle came, which is my father's brother, and we all gathered around in the hospital. 2 weeks before my father was having surgery, we have a small Bangladeshi community in Brooklyn. They called me up, they said, Sister Linda, we want to expand our masjid, we're doing a fundraiser, we lost our speaker, can you come speak at our fundraiser? I'm from Brooklyn, I said absolutely, and if I can be a part of raising money for the house of Allah, I'm going. So I went to the fundraiser, and I spoke at the fundraiser, and I sat down just like the rest of you. The imam got up to raise money. You know what the imam said? He said, if there's anybody in the room who has someone in their family who is sick, someone in their family who maybe has a terminal illness, someone who is feeling great pain in the family, give on behalf of that family member and make dua of shifa for them. And I will make dua. The imam said, and I will make dua. Sisters and brothers, he was asking at that moment for $1,000. 2018, I opened my bank app, and wallahi al-azim, I had $1,087 in my checkings account. $1,087. But the imam said, if you have someone who is sick, someone who has a terminal illness, someone who is feeling pain, give on their behalf and we will all make dua for the shifa. So I said, you know, Allah takes and Allah gives. So I wrote the masjid a check for $1,000, and that means I only have $87, and I have to wait till next Friday to get paid. 2 weeks later, as I told you, from the day of that fundraiser, sisters and brothers, my father had a surgery. This is public information. After the surgery, I was standing in the hallway of the hospital while my whole entire family was in this big room that they gave us. And the doctor came down the hallway, and I went up to the doctor, and I said, what happened? Is everything all right? And the doctor was a white man. Wallahi, he was whiter than the whiteness of his skin. He was almost clear. And I was so worried when I saw him, like my heart sunk. And I said, doctor, is everything okay? And he said, you're not gonna believe this. And I said, what happened? He said, well, your father is in recovery right now, but after the surgery, we had to take him in for scans. Clear, no cancer. Sisters and brothers, the doctor just told me before, bring your sisters, bring everybody. My father had to remove 2/3 of his colon, 73 years old at the time. After my father was released from the hospital, they transferred him to one of the best cancer hospitals in the entire country, maybe the world, because they didn't believe that the machines were right. MRIs, CAT scans, not 3D, 4D. No cancer. Sisters and brothers, that was 2018. We are in 2024. And my father goes for scans every 6 months. Still cancer-free since 2018. Sisters and brothers, do not tell me the power of dua and the power of giving charity on behalf of those that you love. I did that and I only had $87 left in my checking account, and Allah blessed me 10,000 times. First of all, there's no price on the health of my father. But even financially, Allah has blessed me in ways that I can't imagine. He needs $55,000 more to run this operation, to pay salaries, to pay benefits, to make sure the lawyers can do their work. Who here has someone in their family that is experiencing pain? And you want to today give on their behalf, and so that we all collectively in this room can make a dua for their shifa. Who has $1,000 here to give to CAIR today?